So most American history taught in schools is very, very, very whitewashed. U.S. school curriculums have historically omitted topics like colonization violence, black scientific contributions, racial massacres, medical experiments, and global African civilizations. These omissions were intentionally educational decisions designed to create a simplified patriotic narrative rather than an accurate representation of history. Some people become very, very, very upset because learning this exposes that their understanding of their own country was filtered, incomplete, and at times deliberately distorted. So no matter how much you're not gonna like this, it's still the truth. You did. America was built on stolen land and enslaved labor. The early economic power of the United States depended on the seizure of native and indigenous black folks' land and the forced labor of enslaved Africans, who generated the wealth that funded banks, universities, agriculture, exports, and national infrastructure. Institutions like the Gilder Lehrman Institute and the Federal Reserve and the Library of Congress have all documented how slave labor directly produced financial capital that powered America's rise. This will anger some people because it contradicts the patriotic narrative that America was created only through hard work and freedom rather than exploitation and dispossession. So when people say or claim, "Oh, the Egyptians weren't black," they're using wordplay and semantics to twist history. Now listen, let me inform you with some news you can use. Because Egypt hasn't always been called Egypt. Before foreign invasion renamed and rewrote its story, the land was known as Kemet. And can you take a guess what Kemet means? No rush, you don't gotta guess. I'm here to tell you. It means the black land. Can you believe that? Founded and ruled by black melanated Africans, whose genius in science, architecture, and spirituality built the very foundation of civilization. And between 639 and 642 CE, Arab Muslim armies under Amir ibn al-Az invaded and absorbed Egypt into the Rashidun Caliphate, beginning centuries of forcing people to become Arab and practice Islam, which replaced native languages, traditions, and power structures with Arabic rule, mosque, and Sharia courts. Over generations, this conquest deepened through migration and the Arab slave trades, spanning from the 8th through the 19th fucking centuries, which trafficked millions of Africans across the Sahara, Red Sea, and Indian Oceans, severing cultural memory and erasing the African identity of Kemet. Yet, the descendants of those original black Egyptians still live in Egypt to this day. But they are often discriminated against, silenced, and forced to live in harsh conditions, while being lied to about their ancestry. Unaware, kind of like you white people as well, that they are the direct bloodline of the pyramid builders, the architects of the world's first great civilization. Until the truth of Kemet's black origins and theft of its legacies are fully acknowledged, every culture built upon the stolen foundation remains indebted to the very people it tried to erase. I want y'all to know the only original inhabitants of Africa are melanated people, darker skin, my complexion, and darker. You know what I'm saying? And there's some light skinned people that fall through the cracks every now and then because black people can create that as well. You get what I'm saying? But the original inhabitants of all 54 to 56 countries of Africa are black people. You get what I'm saying? Every single country. Understand? Now, when the colonizers came and started mass unaliving us, that drove up the numbers and down ours. You know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers are not original inhabitants of Africa in no way, shape, or form. You understand? They are colonizers that came and stole lineages, artifacts, and everything else. Don't just think they stole the stuff that belonged to us. They stole being us as well. So the Bible does mention slavery, but the Bible's mention of slavery aren't God's original words. They were manipulated through later translations and political edicts, especially under the Catholic Church's authority. In 1452, Pope Nicholas V issued Papal Bull Dom Diversas, granting Portugal divine permission to enslave Africans and non-Christians in perpetuity, followed by Romanus Pontifex in 1455 and the Inter Cetera in 1493, which expanded those rights to Spain and divided the non-European world for conquest. These decrees, disguised as holy orders, legalized racial slavery centuries before America even existed, establishing the church as the architect of systemic racism and the foundation for European colonialism, the transatlantic slave trade, and white supremacy that still shapes global power structures to this day. So since people keep arguing with me about Mexico not being an African or melanated country, here's the real history of the Americas with receipts, dates, and sources, so nobody can act like I'm just talking without proof. So the system of racism itself was literally invented by the Catholic Church. In 1452, Pope Nicholas V issued the Papal Bull Dom Diversas, ordering Portugal's King Alonso V to enslave all Saracens and pagans indefinitely. And just 3 years later, in Romanus Pontifex in 1455, he extended that right to Spain and all Catholic nations, dividing the world by race, granting divine permissions to enslave Africans and indigenous peoples, and launching the global slave trade per the Vatican Archives, Dom Diversas, and the Romanus Pontifex. And then that same church-led system expelled the Moors from Europe, setting off centuries of racial hierarchy and colonial rule. So by the time Europeans reached the Americas, melanated civilizations were already thriving. West African Emperor Abubakar II's fleets voyaged here long before Christopher Columbus's. Afro-Atlantic sailors like Pedro Alonso Nino guided early expeditions, and colossal Olmec heads with broad noses, woolly-haired, carved thousands of years before Europe's arrival, testify to African presence and influence. Per the Van Sertima, and per the Nino archives, and per the Carver, and per the Travels of 1768. These are all the sources. Mexico's own foundation carries that same truth. Gaspar Yanga, an enslaved African who led a successful rebellion in Veracruz in 1609, founded the first free town in the Americas, San Lorenzo de los Negros, later renamed Yanga, and is honored as the first Mexican, per the INAH and the Mexican government archives. Another source. And then colonizers went and rewrote all of this through law and classification. Spain's Limpieza de Sangre and casta systems ranked people by shade. The U.S. passed the 1662 Partition Ventum, the 1705 Virginia Slave Codes, and the 1790 Neutralization Act, limiting citizenship to free white people only, embedding whiteness into law, per the U.S. Statutes at Large and the Encyclopedia of Virginia. And then across the Americas, whitening campaigns erased identity. Mexico's Afro-Mexican president Vicente Guerrero was executed after abolishing slavery in 1829. And then indigenous boarding schools for fake Native Americans in 1879, and then the Dawes Act in 1887, and then the Paper Genocide, and then the New Deal redlining dispossessed melanated families, per the National Archives, per the Mapping Inequity, and per the Rothstein. Even after Tulsa, Rosewood, and 60-plus destroyed black towns, the people rebuilt, and their language, rooted in Yoruba, Igbo, Mandinka, Fonte, and Choctaw, and many other Native American languages, became today's AAVE, or slang, mislabeled as broken English, but really the most documented African linguistic survival in the Western Hemisphere, per the Smithsonian and the Gula Studies. So since I see people spreading lies on Christianity, I think it's time to tell the truth. Christianity was never a European creation delivered to Africa. It was shaped and sustained by melanated people from the start. with centers like Alexandria, Carthage, and Axum producing theologians such as Tertullian, Athanasius, and Augustine, and Ethiopia making it a state religion as early as the 4th century. The narrative that Africans simply received the faith ignores that the original Hebrews and Israelites were black. Described in scripture as dark-skinned with ruddy, red-toned, mentioned only as a contrast per 1 Samuel 16:12 and 17:42 and the Song of Solomon 5:10, and confirmed by ancient Egyptian depictions and early historians who placed Israel among Africa's people. Also, what I've stated and what I'm about to get into is also why I say we shouldn't just be screaming free Palestine, because those people aren't necessarily the original inhabitants of Palestine or Israel. So they're really just two motherfucking Europeans fighting each other. Who gives a fuck? The original inhabitants of Palestine or Israel, whatever you want to call it, is Africans, or were Africans. So are you kind of related to are Palestinians kind of related to the original inhabitants? A little bit, but they were colonized like 5 times by different groups of Europeans. So they have a majority European ancestry. So they also enslaved black people. So what the fuck are we talking about? 11,000 enslaved black people in Al Abid, I think it's called. And they still discriminate against black people to this day. But let's get back into the topic. Later, Europeans stole and distorted this heritage, passing laws like the 1662 Virginia Hereditary Slave Law and issuing papal bull like Inter Cetera in 1493 to weaponize Christianity, erase its African roots, and whiten Jesus Christ. Even though historical evidence shows him as a dark-skinned Galilean Jew. Challenge me, I dare you. I can go even deeper into the laws, the archaeology, the scripture, and the receipts that prove Christianity was born and nurtured in black hands long before Europe ever claimed it. So, did you know the original Hebrews were black Africans from the African Levant region whose identity and heritage were co-opted through colonialism, religious manipulation, and historical revisionism? And despite this constant erasure, several African tribes maintain strong ancestral and genetic ties to ancient Israelite heritage. The Limbu people of southern Africa, for instance, carried the Cohen model haplotype, the CMH, a Y chromosome marker associated with Jewish priestly lineage, proving a historical connection to ancient Jewish communities. Comparably, the Beta Israel of Ethiopia, also known as Ethiopian Jews, have long traditions and genetic markers linking them to ancient Israelite ancestry. These communities, among others, serve as living testimonies to the enduring legacy of black Africans in the history of the Hebrews. Hey man, you know what confuses me? Who the fuck let white people set the beauty standard? And how? Because all white people is ugly as shit to me. For no grave, I don't give no fuck. I don't give no fuck how that make you feel. For no grave, all of y'all are ugly as fuck. Y'all all age like cheese and y'all all look the same. I can run into 4 different white people in 4 different areas. I promise you they'll look similar to each other. For no grave. I don't look nothing like my cousin. For no grave. Most people don't even believe we're related. Oh God. You know what I'm saying? So, nigga, listen. I don't like that shit. We gotta cut that out. No more European beauty standards. We not with that shit. Fun and great. Cause white people can't even fucking dress without black people telling them what the trends are. Fun and great. You know what I mean? So how the fuck did they come up with the beauty standard? And then another thing, it's like black people are subconsciously accepting it, even though they know better. Fun and great. Like, why are black girls starting to get mad at niggas for having bad hairlines? Like, find me a motherfucker in Africa with a good hairline. You get what I'm saying? That's like, what the fuck? I'm starting to see black girls talk about, oh, I don't like him. He got a bad hairline. Wait, whoa. Slow down. What the fuck are we talking about? That's like saying, oh, I don't like her. She got a fat ass. What the fuck? What are we doing? You know, little dick niggas probably do be doing that. That's confusing as fuck to me though, but I ain't going. Give me the big booty bitch every time. You did. I got enough. I can handle her. Oh, God. You did. But listen. Nigga, find me a nigga in Africa with a perfect hairline his whole life. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen At all. Fun and great. I don't give no fuck about them little curly hair motherfuckers that be around every now and then. Nigga, listen. That thin ass shit fall out. That shit be gone by like 35. I promise. I promise. I promise. I promise. For the grade. Them thin ass curls. What is it? Sudanese motherfuckers? Whatever them fucking curly hair black people is. Nigga, listen. I ain't trying to hear that shit. That shit be thin as fuck. I hate that hair. That shit even worse. On God. But listen. And then it's all different types of hair textures, though. My original point, though. But all of the hairlines is bad. Fun and gray. And then the hairline that you falling for and think is good is this motherfuckers laying the hair down on top of this shit. Like, all hairlines start to fade over time. Especially if you don't take care of your hair. Most black people don't know how to take care of their hair properly. Most people in general don't know how to take care of their hair properly, if I keep it in the book. Yo, no bullshit. It's really people out there that really believe that Europeans created everything. And it pisses me the fuck off. So now, I gotta give you niggas the facts, because I can't have this happening no more. I can't allow this to happen any longer. You niggas did create homosexuality, though. And incest. Look into buck breaking and look into early European genetics. Nothing but niggas fucking their cousins. Disgusting shit. Or horses, which was even weirder when I found that out. But now let's get into the truth. So now listen, throughout history,
okay,
European
don't forgive, but don't forget, bitch, I'ma
colonists
hold a grudge.
often controlled written records and education, which led to the erasure or misattribution of innovations from Africa, the Middle East, Asia, and the Americas, creating the perception that Europeans invented most major technologies and ideas. Many European achievements were built on knowledge, labor, and existing innovations from other cultures, including Arab mathematics, Indian numerals, African meteorology, and indigenous agriculture practices, which were frequently, almost every fucking time, adapted, plagiarized, or commercialized without acknowledgement. This combination of historical documentation, colonial power, and biased education has shaped global narratives, minimizing non-European contributions while inflating the perceived originality and scope of European inventions. You understand? Listen, so this post is about why AAVE/slang is popularized outside of black people, but looked at as a lack of intelligence when black people do it. But we the ones who create it. AAVE/slang is a rich, rule-based language created by black people, but when we use it, it's often labeled as ghetto or uneducated or a lack of intelligence. While non-black people often get praised and often paid, more likely than not, for using the same goddamn words. This double standard exists because of deep-rooted anti-blackness, not just racism. Black culture is only value when stripped of its connection to black people. Globally, this happens not just as a side effect of white imperialism, but because anti-blackness is a global social order shaped by colonialism. And other things like media and the news teaches the world to love black culture but hate black people. The world doesn't just mimic the West, it participates in erasing, exploiting, and commanding black expression while denying black humanity.